We are just hours now from a House vote on funding the government. Now, that might not sound sexy to you, but what you need to know is that theoretically it could lead to a shutdown. Democrats are lashing out over this spending bill, raising concerns that there are not enough votes to get it through. And if they don't do it by midnight, you know, they got to do something else. There will be a shutdown.
Boy, this sounds like echoes of times before, does it not, John? Joining us now from Washington, our senior digital correspondent, Chris Moody. Really a pleasure to have you with us at this hour. So let's talk about what the Democrats are so upset about.
Well, it's not just the Democrats. It's Democrats and Republicans. Look, people wonder why Congress can't get anything done. Well, when they do get things done, they do it in back rooms under the threat of a possible shutdown, which people should have reason to be mad. Now, there's probably not going to be a shutdown, even if they pass this $1.1 trillion spending bill, because they'll do a short-term bill that'll act as a stopgap. But the reason people are angry is because, oh, here comes Boehner.
John
in fact, we've now
about the
reduced
deal.
overall discretionary spending some $176 billion since the 2010 fiscal year. And over the 10-year window, we're on track to save taxpayers nearly $2.1 trillion. And this bill also supports our national defense, particularly our efforts to defeat and destroy ISIL. Prevents a taxpayer bailout of Obamacare's risk corridor program while cutting funding for the IRS and the EPA. And it continues our work to deliver a 21st century health care system for our veterans and their families. It's a good bill, and I think it reflects the people's priorities, and I'm asking the House to support it. Now, ideally, we've been able to do this work one bill at a time. And the House tried to do just that. We've passed 7 of our appropriation bills. And not only that, but we've considered these bills under a more open process, allowing the minority to offer as many amendments as they wanted to offer. Unfortunately, the Democrat majority in the Senate passed no appropriation measures. None. Zero. Nada. And dozens of House-passed bills also met the same fate, sitting in the Senate gathering dust. In January, the new American Congress will bring us an opportunity to begin anew. And Senator McConnell and I have pledged the people's priorities will be our priorities. We've pointed to the Keystone Pipeline, the Hire More Heroes Act, restoring the 40-hour work week as examples of bipartisan bills that we'll take up early next year. We've also made clear that early on we'll make a direct challenge to the President's unilateral actions on immigration. And you can expect that challenge to the President to include real action on border security. The House has already begun work on this issue, and we'll restart that work again next month. We'll take this fight to the President on the strongest possible ground with new majorities that the American people elected. Of course, the opportunity to serve the American people is always humbling. It's even more so at a time when our country faces such great challenges. We're ready and eager to get to work.
You need Democrats to pass this, and prominent Democrats are raising objections today. How worried are you?
I expect this bill will receive bipartisan support and pass. Remember, this bill was put together in a bicameral, bipartisan way, and there's no members should have objections to it.
If this bill has trouble this afternoon, are you willing to go ahead with the short-term plan? And why isn't that a good idea anyway? The National Review and others are suggesting that House Republicans should do a short-term plan, only getting you into the new majority and then start from scratch.
This plan was put together after consultation with our members. And the entire plan was put together consulting all of our members. And we worked through this process in a bipartisan, bicameral way, and I do expect it to pass. But listen, if we don't get finished today, we're going to be here until Christmas. You all know how this process works. And let me just tell you all something else. There's not one of you in this room that doesn't understand that this is exactly the way I don't want to do business. I want to do 12 appropriation bills. I want to do them one at a time, and I want to do them before October 1st. But when the Senate does nothing, they put us in this box, and here we are.
You said that the people's priorities will be your priorities. How do you respond to lawmakers like Elizabeth Warren who say that in this bill you have a giveaway to Wall Street that will ultimately hurt consumers?
I don't believe that to be the case at all. And Democrats have supported this provision in the past. It was agreed to in this bill on a bipartisan, bicameral agreement. And so while some members may have objected to this issue or that issue, nobody did this unilaterally. We've done this in a bipartisan fashion, and frankly, it's a good bill.
That said, there are objections.
No, I didn't call it.
Oh, sorry, sight lines. But let's talk about the specifics of Dana's question just for a second. Why should big banks be able to trade derivatives and have their risk covered by us, by the taxpayers? Why should they be able to do that?
I don't believe that to be the case.
That's the provision take them out of that?
I don't believe that your description of this is the case.
One of the things the Senate has done was a FOIA reform bill on Monday. Do you plan on putting that on the House floor today?
I have no knowledge of what the plan is for that bill.
Since we may not get you again for a while to think about how this goes this afternoon. You keep referring to...
That is enough reason in and of itself.
This is the moment you tear up?
You keep referring to the next Congress as the new American Congress. Are you saying something about the previous Congresses? Were they less American? Why do you keep using that phrase?
Well, I just think that the American people elected a new Congress in November, and we decided to call it a new American Congress, and we have one.
Speaker, can you talk about some of the steps that you have at your disposal next year to fight back against the President's executive action on immigration? What could some of those steps look like?
Well, I could detail those steps, but it would be an inconclusive list. There are options available to us, and we're going to exercise those options. The President can't continue to just ignore the Constitution.
Mr. Speaker, aside from your plans on immigration, what else is at the top of your priority list once you have control of both houses of Congress?
The American people are still asking the question, where are the jobs? And we've got to stay focused on this issue. I believe the President's policies are getting in the way of jobs being created in America. And whether it's the Keystone Pipeline, whether it's the President's war on coal, whether it's the EPA out of control or OSHA, these policies are hurting job creation in America. And so the economy and jobs will continue to be our top priority. Yes, sir.
You said that Democrats have supported this Dodd-Frank provision in the past. Did you have sign-off from Democrats to put it in this budget? And do you expect to be able to get 218 on appropriation bills over the next 2 years?
Democrats have signed off on putting this Dodd-Frank language on swaps in this bill. It was agreed to on a bipartisan, bicameral basis. And when it comes to next year and appropriation bills, we'll have the votes to get them passed. Merry Christmas.
That's how Speaker John Boehner...
And that's how he ends the conversation.
He drops the mic and says, Merry Christmas, and walks off. That says it all right there. House Speaker John Boehner just says he does think that this $1.1 trillion spending bill will pass with bipartisan support. He thinks that he has the votes among Republicans and at least some Democratic votes, too, to get this through. I don't think he would have been out there speaking today if he did not think he had the votes. Let's bring back Chris Moody in right now, our political reporter. And, Chris, one of the things he was pressed on, one of the things that Democrats have a problem with is this issue with derivatives, financial regulation, easing some of the regulations in Dodd-Frank.
People have a lot of problems in this bill, and the reason is they were slipped in without much debate very late in the game, and people had just a day to read what became a 1,600-page bill. You're loosening regulations on Wall Street. You're also increasing the amount of money people can give to political committees, to party committees, to the tune of $777,000 from, I think, about $96,000 or $97,000. You're overturning a marijuana bill or a marijuana law that was passed by people in the District of Columbia. There's so many things in here that people are frustrated about. Now, the thing is, though, the interesting thing is that if Democrats kill this thing today because they're frustrated with some of these loosening of restrictions on Wall Street, this will kick this into 2015 when the Republicans will be in control, and they'll have probably an upper hand in getting more Republican writers into a bill like this. So it's really, I think, in the best for Democrats right now to get this thing passed today.
Chris Moody, our thanks, and of course stay with CNN. We'll be watching this all